This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, a.k.a. the Python Hyena. And folks, I have a return guest on here tonight. Yes, we had the beautiful Kimberly Haynes back with us, and she is joined by one of her bandmates, Vito Gregoli. I got that right, I hope.
You did.
Welcome, folks. Welcome, folks.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's interesting because, I have a lot of my guests on Facebook, so I notice transactions going on, and I remember Vito added me on there one night, and I just kind of noticed that he was tagged in a lot of stuff you were tagged in, so I kind of checked it out, and I was like, oh, you two are part of the same band.
Well, Vito is my other half when it comes to music, and he was the co-producer on my first album and the engineer for my second album, so always very involved.
Absolutely. Well, I noticed these things and I thought, well, this would make for a good interview. Plus, I kind of noticed too a lot of times, I've noticed this with other interview guests, when an interview goes well, in some cases I notice with actors or significant other will add me, and I'm like, because they like what I said. Or in this case, a bandmate adds me, so I'm like, okay, that makes me feel pretty good. That makes me feel confident in what I'm doing. So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was good of you, Vito.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a good little tagger.
All right then.
Well, I had an actress I interviewed last year, and her husband added me on Facebook, and I was like, gee, this is very complimenting, because they must have liked it what I did, so I it's very appreciative.
It's a pleasure to be back.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I've been keeping an eye, making sure I keep up to date on what you're doing. And I want to say firsthand, Kimberly, thank you so much for doing the Doubtfire Face Challenge. That was a great video.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my gosh, that was funny. Oh gosh.
I bet the kids love doing that, right?
Oh, yeah, they love giving me a pie in the face, I have to admit. Yeah, it was funny, though, because we were over there in Hawaii on our winter holiday, and so we sat out by the beautiful ocean, and my kids gave me a pie in the face.
Yeah, I loved how you say Maui.
Yes, we were in Maui. Yes.
Maui.
Why? Meowie. Meowie.
Meowie.
Yeah, like my cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we both, the Doubtfire Face Challenge, that was great. I've had a few of my guests do that. So, that was a lot of fun. I remember I got a message from Mike Gormley saying, she did it.
That she did.
Yep. Yeah, I've
responsible for all this.
What's that?
He's responsible for all this.
Responsible for all what?
Well, for
us
knowing
being
each
here.
other, yeah, for the radio show, and for the pie in the face.
Oh, yeah? Well,
I'm just teasing.
There you go. I have a few people that he sent my way that's done this challenge, so I'm trying to get the industry involved in it. So,
yeah,
cool.
Great. It's wonderful that you're bringing attention to that in such a, and bringing with it a little bit of humor. It's a pretty heavy topic.
Yeah. Nope, that was a great video, and you ended up not getting one but two.
I know.
She didn't want to be outdone, so she made sure.
Yeah.
Well, another thing too, we both have a cat with the same name, Skittles.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. When I heard you, telling me about your cat when we were on the phone recently, and you said the name, I was like, wait, what? I thought we were the only family with a cat named Skittles.
Yeah, we got cat named Skittles. Yeah.
I feel totally left out.
Well, I'll tell you, he was awful loud when I took him to the vet today. I'll tell you that. He was fine. He got in his carrier, and then once I got the car started, holy cow, he would not shut up. I had to turn Howard Stern up to block him out.
Oh gosh, I used to have a cat like that. It was a Siamese cat.
Yeah.
And he would just that Siamese cats have a really particular meow sound.
Mm-hmm.
And he was vocal like your Skittles. And man, whenever we would go on a car ride, it was intense.
Wow.
Yeah.
I won't demonstrate, okay? I'm going to stop.
Why?
Thank you.
I actually do a really good impression.
It's one of your many talents.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So what's the weather like where you two are at?
Sorry, what was the question?
What's the weather like where you two are at?
Well, we had some pretty heavy rains yesterday and, the night before last and yesterday during the day. But it's last night and today it's been clearing up. Yes, Vito?
Yes, and it's got that post-rain beauty all over everything, and the plants look happy, and the sky looks happy, and it's a good thing for Los Angeles.
I'm waiting for
California.
I'm waiting for spring because we got snow.
Oy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't like winter driving a whole lot. I'll tell you that.
No.
Winter driving, that's a whole other kettle of fish with having to dig your car out of the snow and get chains and all that, right?
Yes. You had to do that before?
Nope, never had to do that.
No.
Well, I lived briefly in Seattle, and we had a little bit of snow, and it was just enough to let me know that I didn't want to do it again.
No.
It's very difficult to drive, and as you said, it's a lot of shoveling and scraping windshields and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, not
Great
fun.
weather to be stuck inside with.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when you have to work, it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
So I need to know, how did you two connect?
Oh, Vito, you want to tell that story?
Well, we had a mutual friend, and Kimberly was looking for someone to help her put together a few songs. She was looking to maybe try to hook up with getting them in a TV show or a film, because that's always a good way to get your music out there. And so this mutual friend recommended me, and the rest, they say, is history. That's the short version.
Oh.
So I called Vito, and he came over, and we had a first meeting, and that was well in advance of my first album. So I was, wanting to hire Vito to produce the first album. And it took a while after that first meeting till I came up with the brilliant idea of having a Kickstarter, and so that I could actually pay Vito. He wasn't going to do it for free.
Yeah.
Darn it.
That's wonderful. It was wonderful music, but it is a living.
Well, Vito.
But it was really apparent from our first meeting over here at my studio that she had something unique, and that I really wanted to be involved in helping to bring that out to the world.
Well, I've had a Kimberly Haynes on here before, but Vito, this is our first encounter vocally. So I'd like to get a little bit of your background and how you came to be where you are in the industry.
Well, I started out as a young child, being interested in the music of the day, the Monkees and the Beatles.
Yeah.
And it inspired me to start playing drums when I was about 6. And then that kind of floated into bass and then guitar and then piano and then flute. And as I went in through high school, my last semester of high school was all music classes. So, and then I went to college, got a degree in music there. All the while, I was playing in bands from about age 15. And then after I got out of college, playing in original bands and working with singer and songwriters. And I was always the guy who had an idea about what to do with the music, and which a lot of other people found annoying. Some found it helpful. So it was just pretty obvious that I was going to go into producing at some point. So as the situation with technology changed and it was easier to record things without going into a big studio, I was kind of on the front end of that, and gradually built from there.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the short version.
Well, you play a lot of instruments. What's your favorite to play?
I would have to say right now today, and if you ask me tomorrow, I might have something different. I'd say bass.
Okay.
But usually it's drums or bass, or sometimes it's guitar. Each instrument has a certain magic and fascination about it that, you fall in love with it again every, so often. And the fun thing about playing a bunch of different instruments is that you're constantly falling in love over and over again, which keeps things fresh and interesting.
What's the most difficult instrument you've had to learn to play?
I'd have to say sitar.
Okay.
It's very, very difficult, and I don't consider myself adept at it in the slightest, although people actually do pay me to play it. I always feel like a little bit of a fraud because it's one of those instruments that are just so complex and deep that you could, spend 12 hours a day every day practicing and still only scratch the surface.
Yeah.
A tremendous amount of respect for the instrument and for the lineage of the instrument. And, Indian music is very, very, very deep. It's as deep as, I consider the violin one of the most deepest instruments in classical music. And I treat it with the same reverence and respect, and feel honored that I get to noodle around on it for people.
Yes, absolutely. Well, do you have any inspirations behind your music?
Yeah, a lot of it. I mean, obviously the Beatles, as I said, was the first and probably the biggest inspiration that got the whole ball rolling, because they, like me, are interested in a lot of different styles, and because their influences were so eclectic, mine became eclectic, and I got into playing lead guitar as a young man, and went through that whole blues rock thing, and got interested in classical music, got a degree in classical guitar, fascinated by classical music and some of the composers there, some of which you'll know, like Bach, some of which you probably don't, Holst, Vaughan Williams, Debussy, Ravel. And then, having grown up in LA, all the musicians that are in the LA scene, doing basically a combination of funk and pop. And I really am beginning to realize how much the people I played with influenced me by bringing their influences secondhand to me. So lots of different influences. And I think that's what makes it interesting and keeps it lively.
That's the interesting thing with a band. You're all in it together. You go out there on the stage, and you got your lead singer, of course, but those bandmates, they've got the same spotlight and the same audience looking at them as well. So it's a really quite the intense collaboration.
For sure.
Yeah, It is, and it's and having grown up as basically the sideman in the band, not the lead person. It's very interesting because you get exposed to a lot of different songwriters and a lot of different styles, a lot of different musical styles. So very much it was an education to be playing with these and some really amazing musicians that I got to play with. Was really a privilege.
Well, how long?
As is to play with Kimberly Haynes.
Well, how long have you two been connected?
I guess about 4 years, right, Vito?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we met 4 years ago last June.
Last June, yeah. So, we've been working together real closely and driving each other pretty much crazy.
We're good at that.
Affectionately, so.
Well, Kimberly is blonde.
And,
She's more than blonde, Greg.
We've been on the road a few times together, and I love having Vito with me because I can always trust that he's on top of the music and paying attention, and I really feel held, when we're working together, and I know that he wants the music to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is true. I do want, and it's I've worked with so many people over the years. To work with somebody who's as dedicated, driven, and focused, and most important, real and authentic as Kimberly has just been, one of the great pleasures over the last 4 years. She's an amazing human being and an amazing artist, and I count myself very fortunate.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks, Vito.
I know the check's coming later, right?
Yeah. You did good.
Vito, who else have you worked with?
Countless people here in LA, which went on to play with people like Elton John and folks like that. I was lucky enough to be playing with a lot of really of the highest caliber musicians, and some of which I was able to bring to Kimberly's album when we worked together, which is one of the great pleasures of producing and co-producing, is bringing some of the best musicians that I've worked with and being able to have them contribute on projects that I'm working on, especially really excellent projects like this one.
Well, I'll say this, Kimberly, you did a nice, interesting rendition, if that's the right word, of a song Olivia Newton-John did in the Grease soundtrack. And
right.
What was it like tackling that?
It actually was really very organic. I'd heard someone else do a different version of it, and I loved it. I can't remember what their names were right now.
Angus and Julie Stone, is that it?
Yeah, Angus and Julie Stone. Yeah, I heard that, which was a total reworking of it. And so it just opened that song up to me in a totally different way, because I don't know, it wasn't one of my favorite songs, honestly. And so then when I started playing it, I was like, oh, I really love how this feels, singing it with this kind of this vibration, this, like in this groove. And so I sent a voice recording or something from my phone to Vito. I was up in Mammoth with my family for skiing, and so I was in the condo, and I just put this down and sent it over to him. And it got cooking in his mind. He's like, oh, okay, how am I going to talk her into putting this on the record? We have to give it a spiritual spin,
Exactly. That was the hardest part about it, because when she sent it to me, my reaction was, oh, this is great, the way she sounds on it, her take on it, and vocally. And so, I got cooking on some ideas musically, but obviously it's a love song, and we've got an album that's spiritually based. So how are we going to make this work? So we worked through a few ideas, changing the odd lyric here and there, but what really set it off is when I came up with the idea of putting a chant to Krishna in it and making it a love song to the divine.
Okay.
And that kind of turned it around where we were able to, kind of get our heads around it in a completely different way, interpretively.
Yeah.
Right, Kim?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Kim.
And it was really fun. I love performing it. It's super fun. I love the chants. It's like, I really did get into the whole, okay, this is actually, love song to Krishna. I'm totally down with that. I get it.
I'm going to sound really ignorant, but I've heard the name Krishna before, but I'm not familiar.
Okay, so I mean, it's just a Hindu. It's how the Hindus refer to God.
Oh, okay.
And they have a huge pantheon of deities. Krishna is right, Vito?
Yes, it's one of the main three gods. Vishnu, Shiva, and Krishna are probably the most.
Yeah, and Krishna was known to, the story goes that Krishna incarnated, and as a young man, as a child, he was very precocious and ate the butter, stole the butter, and he was loved by everyone. He was, a special little boy, and then he grew up, and all the young ladies fell in love with him, and so, making this song really playful about the youthful Krishna was fun, and just imagining falling in love with God, basically.
Yeah, I come from the Christian religion, so that's probably why.
So do I.
Yeah. So, and I'm barely able to tell anybody what goes on in the Bible. So, and I read from it, but it's like I don't know. Don't ask me to quote any scriptures because I'm not going to know where it is.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, Kimberly, when can we expect you to do an Iron Maiden song or an AC/DC song?
Oh, I'll have to really figure that. That might take some figuring out.
I mean, you tackle Olivia Newton-John. I'm like,
Can do anything now, right?
Or you
can do that.
Or you could tackle Metal Queen by Lee Aaron. Now that would be something.
Right. I'll give that some thought.
Just a wee bit of thought.
There you go.
Exactly.
Well, I know I interviewed you, Kimberly, and it was January of 2017. And it was a big year for me doing interviews. I did 128 interviews that year.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And yeah, that was a lot. And are you still connected with the Mike Gormley?
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
He is one of my favorite people in the world.
Yeah, he just sent me Lacey Dalton yesterday, so.
Nice.
Cool.
Yep. And I think I talked Lacey into doing the Doubtfire Challenge as well.
Wow.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, so many people, they don't take depression seriously. And I know, I don't know what your political views are, but right now America is getting depressing.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
We're both feeling that for sure in a big way. But, there are so many people here who really support the current administration. It's just amazing.
You want me to tell you something funny? I went.
Okay.
I had to go get Skittles a new carrier, so for when I take him to the vet. So I went into the pet store and they had Donald Trump chew toys in there for dogs.
Oh my goodness!
I laughed. I mean, George W. Bush is gonna be sitting back thinking, "Gee, and I thought I screwed up."
Yeah.
Tell me about it. When he starts looking good, we're in trouble.
Holy cow. I looked at the woman working the pet store. I said, a president's really disliked when they get chew toys in their likeness.
Yeah.
That was funny.
That's so funny.
Yep. But anyway, nonetheless, yeah, Mike still sends me a lot of people, and yeah, I had encountered him a few years ago because I'd interviewed an actress, Lisa Langlois, who was associated with him, and she was responsible for my first trip out of New Brunswick. I'm 46 years old, and I never left New Brunswick until last year when she invited me to Toronto for a horror film convention. So, yeah, and I didn't want to come home. So that was a blast. So Mike sent me a lot of interesting people since then. So, yeah, just had Lacey on last night, and I said to him, I said, hey, I'm gonna have Kimberly back on, and he goes, she doesn't have any new music out, and I'm sitting there thinking, I can spin an interview out of pretty much anything, and as I had to explain to him, I said, yeah, but I'm having her on with Vito, I said, there's a story there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got it going on.
Well, yeah. Well, after a while, I start to notice things, and I noticed you two were, because I didn't know who Vito was when he added me, and because yeah, so I was like, and I would notice, then I started seeing pictures of the two of you, like backstage, and I know there was one picture, the two of you, I think, were waiting to go on stage, and Kimberly, you had this interesting, I don't know what it was you had on your head, but
what?
Looked like, I don't know whether it was like a hood thing or something like that, but
No, I don't know what that would have been.
Huh. I wonder.
I don't know. You looked classy.
Of course.
I mean, not as classy as you did during a certain Maui video, but you're certainly up there.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I don't know what that could have been.
Something on your head.
And I don't know whether you had it's been so long since it's in the picture, whether you had some kind of headband thing on or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, maybe. I don't usually wear anything on my head, so that's surprising.
Yeah, well, speaking of administrations, certain people don't wear anything in their head either.
Yes, exactly.
Not that I want to name any names.
No. I think we all know who you're talking about. Right? We're all clever here.
But yeah, since I've interviewed you, Kimberly, I noticed, you've done a lot of, you've toured around Los Angeles, and you've done certain dates there. I see the updates by Mike Gormley, and yeah, give us some updates on that.
Well, I actually did release another album in June, a second album. But it's not an album of my original music, so I haven't really promoted it very much.
Okay.
And I will probably have a new album of my original music next year, late next year, perhaps. There's so many things to do. But we dropped that album in June, and then we went on tour. Here in the Pacific Northwest, up through California and Oregon, and that was also in June, and that was wonderful and successful. And then I played, a couple festivals over the summer, and so yeah, and playing around Los Angeles. But I have to be careful with doing that too much because oversaturation and all that.
Yeah. When are you going to get out my way? Do you even know where I am?
Yeah.
Oh, I
New Brunswick.
don't know where you are. New Brunswick. Where the heck is that?
Think northeast.
There you go.
Northeast. Yeah. Okay. Well, all the way on the East Coast.
So Vito, you know where I am.
Yes, I did very good in geography in school.
Yeah, Kimberly didn't. I take it, huh?
Well, she's
I
on a
didn't do that.
continuing education.
There you go.
I didn't do that well in geography, but now I know where you are. And East Coast, the thing is that, I would have to plan an East Coast tour, right?
Which is not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea at all. I like it.
You might want to come up here when it's not cold.
Yeah, I'm definitely not.
Or at least not snowing.
Not snowing.
Winter. No, not even in the winter. No.
Yeah.
Snowing or not.
Yeah. Well, Lacey was telling me last night that they got snow in Nevada, and I'm like, yeah, we got snow here. We're trying to give it away.
Oh, wow. Snow in Nevada.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of unusual.
Yeah.
I would think. I mean, you'd have to be, there's not a lot of, yeah. Well, global warming and all that and climate change, everything's going to be a little bit different.
Well, she is up in the mountains, so,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So it does get cold, and I'm sure that ice and snow, it just doesn't stay on the ground probably.
Yeah, I wish it would go back up in the sky. Lift right up. Yeah, I've had.
You've been in New Brunswick a while.
I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I just made, like I said, two trips to Toronto, and that's pretty much my only time out. But yep, I enjoyed that. Finally got me out of my funk. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yep.
That's good to be out of a funk. We don't like being in a funk.
Have you ever been to the United States, across the border?
I don't think so, unless it was when I was really young, but that I would not remember.
Because Maine's pretty close, yeah?
Yeah, Maine's pretty close, yeah. But I don't know. Maybe when I was really young, my parents might have ventured us over there, but that I don't recollect, so... But anyway, yeah, you guys did a lot of touring. I've seen a lot of pictures on Facebook of you guys touring, and Mike would always post the any stops you guys made. But since I've never been to California, I just wondered, do you have favorite spots you guys like to perform?
Oh, here in California? Oh, gosh.
Yeah, whet my appetite if I ever go.
Well, I would say, on tour, one of our favorite places that we stopped and actually didn't play was Mount Shasta.
Okay.
That was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was amazing. Mount Shasta is really beautiful and, yeah, absolutely charming. But, when we traveled up through California and we stopped in some of the smaller towns along the coast, it's so beautiful. There's nothing like the California coast. It really is just a stunning coastline, and when you go out in June, the weather is so beautiful. So it was just a great trip.
It really was.
You two avoiding the fires?
Well,
interestingly, the first fires that we had that were in Oregon and Northern California happened just about 2 to 4 weeks after we got back.
Oh, then yeah, we were not there.
That whole round. We just missed the fires, and we were going, wow, that would have been really challenging to try to navigate around all those fires and all those beautiful places that we had just seen were, now being burnt.
Oh,
very,
sad.
very heartbreaking.
And just a couple weeks ago, my family and I have been evacuated from our home for a week due to the fires in our area here.
Yeah. And here we are complaining about snow here.
Yeah, we would have loved to have had snow about a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've interviewed a few people that have been very close to being evacuated, so So I feel for you guys. I've seen the pictures; they're devastating.
Yeah, the pictures are devastating, and it's crazy. Like my mother-in-law lives in a small 2-bedroom apartment in Brentwood, and my husband. I was away when this all happened, and my husband and the 2 boys and the 2 cats and the big dog and our caregiver all ended up in my mother's little apartment.
Okay.
And that was a lot of people in a tiny apartment, and the dog and the 2 cats. And she's 86, almost 87. So that was a lot for her to take on. And I came home on the Sunday, and she was like, "Well, you can stay here and sleep in my bed with me." And I said, "No, I don't think so. I'm going to go find me a hotel room and room service."
Why didn't you want to sleep with her?
Because I really want to keep liking my mother-in-law.
You don't want one of these situations where in the middle of the night her arm swings over and accidentally belts you in the head?
And I don't want to live on top of each other either, because we might have a little row.
Really?
Well, we just got through going through this tour in an RV, which was very interesting because you are in very close quarters for an extended length of time, and it's definitely put you in how should we put it? It just puts you into a place of being very mindful of the space that you're occupying, and being respectful of the people you're with, and it gives you the idea of how difficult it would be to live in a very small space like some families do. Some very underprivileged families that have to live, 5 in a house of 1 room and stuff.
I know, experience
my
it was.
My family was living like that for a week.
Yeah.
And you survived.
To be fair, it was in Brentwood.
That's true. It could be worse.
Yeah.
Well, I don't tour that much, so
I know.
So you got to tell me about the process of touring, what the experience is like for you two.
Well, one of the big pieces of the puzzle is getting the bookings, and that's like now, and then keeping everything organized, getting the bookings and where are we going to stop and where's the next place, and make sure that all those pieces fit together.
Mm-hmm.
I found that to be, administratively challenging. And,
right.
And, making sure that you have everything you could possibly need. You have to have, not only the instruments, but like, all my products, and I don't know, it's just, it's a lot to keep track of, and I would have loved to have a whole team of people working for us. But we went up, my husband and I decided that we would go in an RV. So we rented an RV, and that way we didn't have to sleep on people's couches, and there was no way we could sleep in a hotel with all of our gear and have to take gear into a hotel every night. So
especially changing locations so often.
Yep.
Yeah. So we had this RV, and all of our gear could stay in the undercarriage of the RV, and I learned to drive an RV, and I'll tell you what, I had a few mishaps, but overall I think it was okay. But the very first mishap happened about an hour after we picked up the RV, and it was heartbreaking.
What happened?
Well, I live up in the mountains,
Mm-hmm.
and so I got this RV all the way up to turning the corner onto my street, and that's not nothing. I mean, they're windy roads. So we got all
Oh,
the way
yeah.
up, and I turned onto my road, and I heard this terrible noise. And we got to my house, and I parked the RV. I got out, and the awning that was attached to the side of the RV was totally off. It's off of it. I don't know what words I'm supposed to be using here. Like it was totally bent and off its lining. And
Okay.
what happened is that there is a tree that grows straight from the ground, but at the top it leans over into the road. And I've never seen that tree because I'm not looking up when I'm driving my car.
Not that high.
And it's, really high. But in an RV, the RV is really high. So that tree caught, and then Vito told me, like, I don't know, or Brian told me the next day or something, that tree has so many marks on it because clearly a lot of trucks have hit that tree. And that would cost me a lot of money, actually, because I had to pay the deductible.
Oh.
It sucked. It totally sucked. It was really disheartening to start the tour off that way. But we ended the tour on, yes.
I was just going to say, I briefly drove the RV, and Kimberly did a really excellent job of maneuvering that thing in and out of everywhere that we went. And that's not a small thing from my experience. So hats off to you, Kim.
No, thanks, Vito.
Did she not? Yeah, but you didn't let her maneuver around trees, right?
Oh my goodness.
I think I have to say that was one of those things you could not have predicted unless you were accustomed to being 20 feet up in the air when you drive.
Yeah, it's sad, but I don't know. I guess I could ask the neighbor, whose tree it was. Like, it's on his property, but I don't want to have an argument with my neighbor.
No? You don't want to get him to saw the tree?
No, I don't want him to I don't want to ask him to pay the deductible.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got a big old chainsaw over there, so maybe he could use it on that tree, but he probably won't.
No. So,
So anyway, that was how we got around, and that was great. And we played a festival up in Oregon, and
okay.
parked the RV there, and that was really fun. It was great. And then on the way back, the last concert was really wonderful. We had great attendance, and it was a great thing to do that. And I don't know when I will do it again because it was a terrific amount of work. And I have a family, my kids, and I homeschool, so it's hard to get away.
Oh, gee, you homeschool. What's that process like?
Well, it's actually not that complicated, really. Josh was enrolled in online classes, and he pretty much just does his thing. But we're here and we're home, and I'm supervising him, of course. So it's actually, in many ways, it's easier than having him go to public school because I don't have to drive him anywhere, and I don't have to, kind of keep up with what he's doing at school. I know what he's doing, and I have access to all of it on the computer. I have to drive around a bit, for social activities and stuff like that, but I don't mind that. And, he's got great friends that he likes to hang out with, and we're having some really great bonding time, and Joshua spends a lot of time with his dad, which is super important. My husband has advanced ocular melanoma, and so for my kids to have him at home and be able to spend plenty of really good time with him.
What is that?
Well, melanoma is, a skin cancer generally.
Oh, okay.
But in this case, it was ocular. So it started out 10 years ago as a cyst in his eye.
Okay.
And so they took out his eye, and then 5 years later, it went to his liver. And so we've been, kind of for the last 5 years, deep in treatment and side effects and more treatment and side effects. And now it's quite a ride.
Wow, I never heard of that.
Yeah. Well, on the positive side, Brian has lived longer than anyone else ever who has had this particular disease.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. His will to live, coupled with the love of his children and luck, because Lord knows we have no idea why some people get well and some people don't. There's no way to know.
Yes.
But he's holding his own for now, and it's advancing, but it's advancing very, very slowly at this time. And so I'm so glad that Joshua's being homeschooled right now, because he's spending a lot of time with his dad, and they have a great time together.
Yeah.
You got to be really smart to homeschool, so how do you even begin to tackle that?
Okay, well, I mean, I have a cousin who homeschooled her kids, and she was a role model for me. I looked at that and I said, if she can do it, I can do it too. And also, push came to shove, like the situation with Joshua's school and where we live and stuff created a situation where we both were like, this is not working, so what else can we do? So we decided to give it a try and just see if it would work. So I really put no pressure on myself. Like, it's really okay if it doesn't work. He can go back to public school. And so we pulled him out, and I bought some, I went to the local school supply store, and I bought some textbooks and just developed, a curriculum until I could figure out what to do in a more formal way. And then I learned about the state-funded homeschooling program. And I enrolled him in that, and now we have an educational specialist that we meet with every 3 weeks, and they provide all the books and materials, and they make sure that he's learning what he needs to be learning. So, I actually don't have to do that much.
Oh, gee.
It's a really amazing program. I got to take a look at it online when she was checking out in the beginning, and I told her, I said, hey, can we take this? Really cool stuff.
So I wish I could have done that as opposed to wasting 12 years of my life.
I know, right? It is such a waste.
Holy cow, I hated school.
Oh, no, I did too. I hated it so much. But, my little one is still going to public school, and he's in 4th grade. And I feel like elementary school, it's okay. They're learning, and they're learning, social skills, and it's all good right now with elementary school. But when he's ready for middle school, we'll be having a different conversation probably.
Yeah. We'll end with him wanting to stay in public school.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd really like for my little one to homeschool too, but that may not be the road he wants to go down. He might want to go with his friends to, junior high school. We'll see.
Well, I know when I was in high school, there was a lot of students that didn't want to go to school either. That's why they skipped class.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So,
did plenty of that in junior high school too.
What's the hardest subject to teach?
Math.
Yeah, I used to put 1 and 1 together and get 11.
Right.
Yeah.
1 and 1 makes 11. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's right.
Technically, I'm right.
Yeah. Technically, yes.
Yeah.
If you're taking a math test, it might not go well.
No.
Yeah. So I'm not good at math. So that's a really difficult one. But, Joshua gets to do that with his dad.
There you go.
Yeah. And Vito is a history major, so I roped him into doing some history with Joshua.
There you go.
And,
Fun.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. And then I did some, earth science, just working out of the textbook, really, and trying to develop, ways for the information to sink in. I think that's kind of the biggest thing. Like if I'm doing the teaching, which I'm not generally the one doing the teaching. Last year I did a little bit more. But, it's like, how do you get the information to sink in? Because in school they have projects. They do the reading and then they do some project around the reading so that the information has an opportunity to go in a bit more deeply.
Yeah.
But I'm not really a project maker. I don't enjoy that. So that was challenging for me. But now that he's in online classes, it's part of the online class. They do these projects, and he's in charge of it, and he manages just fine.
Well, I need to know what you two are coming up for music projects here in the near future. I know you mentioned you had a CD that you dropped out in June, but I'm under the impression you have some original music you two are planning. Is that correct?
For sure, yes.
Kimberly has a bunch of new songs that are just, I cannot wait to get into the studio and record. We worked on some of them on the road, but some she's written over the last couple of months are just really powerful, outstanding, beautiful songs, and can't wait for you to be able to hear it. It's amazing stuff.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to recording these new songs. They're really, I'm loving singing them, so that's a good sign.
She did a couple of them on her Sunday special Facebook Live shows over in October. And so maybe she might be premiering a few more over the next couple of months in that arena, maybe.
Wow.
Your Sunday special songs.
Oh.
I was saying,
yeah, my
you might.
special.
Yeah, it might be. So, but some of them might sneak out that way.
Yeah. I started, Greg, doing something called the Sunday special, just like 10 or 15 minutes every Sunday of Facebook Live broadcast, but it's fallen through the cracks with all this,
It's a little hard to do when you're evacuated.
Yeah. It's songwriting. I've never written songs before, but the process of writing a song, how do you come up with, what am I thinking of? Your inspiration for each song is like, how do you come up with what you want to write about?
Well, for me, it starts as a feeling.
Okay.
Like I feel that I don't know how to explain this. I've never actually tried. I think I feel like this bubbling up of something that wants to be said or sung, and then I will get my guitar and start playing some chords, and then these words start coming through. The lyrics start coming through, and it's almost, I just have to get out of the way. Like my thinking mind has to get out of the way, and then there's this other part of me that knows how to write the song. So that happens. And then when I have the bones down, then my thinking mind comes back in and kind of moves words around to make the melody and the rhyming, be the way I want them to be for the song. Vito was with me in a recent songwriting experience. How did that look to you, Vito?
Are you talking about in Mount Shasta?
That or the more recent one? Either one you want to talk about.
Well, first I'll talk about the one in Mount Shasta, because it was just so completely organic. We're going down this 2-lane highway on the side of a mountain that's very, very narrow.
Oh, wow.
Kimberly's driving the RV like she's driving a sports car, and I'm, of course, grabbing the, grabbing the sides of my seat, and she starts humming this song.
I was not driving it like a sports car.
I'm kind of, I have this image in my head from that Hitchcock movie, To Catch a Thief, or Cary Grant's just a little bit nervous and Grace Kelly is just a little bit too comfortable.
Yeah.
No, she was totally
overconfident.
She was not overconfident. I was just a little bit, I get nervous on the side that has no railing. So that's just me. But she starts humming this song, and, I think she started putting a few words to it. I just going, hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah, sing more of it so I don't have to I can be distracted.
Well, I was definitely distracted because I was hearing a hit song being born in my mind. And by the time we got to the bottom of the hill, she had most of the song together, and we got to the RV park, and we did a spontaneous concert working it out, and somebody came over and was talking to us about it. It was just kind of a bizarro experience, but suffice to say, it was how it just comes to you and how the inspiration and it can just come together as effortlessly as, humming a tune, whereas other songs are totally painful and take years to write. Another one, Kimberly got inspired more recently. She got inspired by talking about something she's never talked about before in a song. And she started sending me, she sent me 2 lines, and I go, oh, that's great, keep going. And, she kept sending them to me, and then within a couple of days, the song was pretty much finished. And that's just so beautiful to sit back and witness the process, because, when I do it, it's a different experience because it's coming from me. But watching it on the outside and seeing her process and seeing the inspiration and seeing the whole thing to come together is just such a beautiful thing. It's such a rare thing to be able to create something like that and to watch. It's like watching somebody give birth in a sense. It's really quite wonderful.
So
Right.
You're telling me that...
I don't think so, Vito.
I don't mean graphically speaking of giving birth, but I mean...
Having given birth, I don't think it's like that at all.
So you're telling me Kimberly drives like she's just watched Smokey and the Bandit?
No.
That has been said about me, Greg. It has.
Not in an RV.
Well, there was an RV in the Blues Brothers, and that ended up...
Yeah, how did that go?
Not well.
Yeah, that ended up in the harbor.
Oh, boy. Right.
Let's just put it this way. She never got a speeding ticket.
Well, I never got a speeding ticket. No, I didn't have a speeding ticket. No.
And you didn't flip the
Not
RV over, so,
I had a lot
Not
of
an RV.
speeding tickets when I was younger and driving in my car.
Well, what's coming up here in the near future? You got anything to promote before we sign off?
Well, I do have my new album, and so, if anyone wants to go onto my website and check it out, it's called In Dreams, and it is actually a collection of songs and prayers that are very close to my heart, and it is meant for the healing of humanity, honestly, and I think there are many songs on there that many people will resonate with. So go to my website at www.musicmedicinewoman.com and check it out. You can, just listen on the website there. It's called In Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm writing a book right now, so hopefully that will, make press next year sometime, and there'll be another album in the works next year.
Tell me about the book.
Well, I'm writing a book about my own path to healing.
Okay.
My own path to healing. Yeah, and so it's a windy journey that has lots of threads that I am pulling together in the book, which is an incredibly challenging process. But it feels very important to me. I feel like music is how I'm presenting right now, but music is not the only story. I'm a writer, not just a songwriter. Not that being just a songwriter is not enough. What I mean to say is I'm also a writer of articles and stories and poems. So I'm using that skill and writing my story from my woundedness to my healing.
There you go. What about you,
Yeah.
Vito? You're joined in this journey as well? Or you got other projects coming up?
I do have other projects coming up. I'm working with some other singer-songwriters, as well as obviously Kimberly. I'm also working on a rock opera, and that's probably going to come to fruition in 2019 as well.
Okay.
So there'll be things coming out for me. You can find me at hearingisbelievingmusic.net. That's my new website address. And all things will be revealed there.
Oh, fantastic. A rock opera, that sounds kind of like Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Equally complex, sure. It's going to be, I don't want to talk too much about it yet, but when it comes around, it's going to be quite hopefully impactful, and hopefully people will find it fascinating and interesting and go to see it as much as they went to see Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
So.
Is Kimberly Haynes going to be in the rock opera?
Not that I know of.
Well, she's going to be singing backgrounds on a few of the songs on the album.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the two leads in it are male, and there actually isn't a female role in it, oddly. I know it's not very politically correct, but that's kind of, it's based on a 5,000-year-old document, so you have to go with what you got.
Well,
she will be singing a little bit on it.
Well, when you guys go on tour, she can use the RV. She can drive the RV.
If all else fails, Kim, you can always have a job driving my RV around the world.
That's awesome, Vito. Thank you.
I wouldn't want to leave you out.
Okay.
So, you two got. I don't know, Kimberly. Will you plug your web page? But you two got both have web pages that you want to plug on here as well.
Thank you. I did mine. Vito, did you do yours?
I did. Hearingisbelievingmusic.net.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Okay.
Is it up?
It's going to be up in a matter of weeks. So by the time somebody hears this.
Okay.
Great.
Perfect.
Good.
All right. Well, you know what? It was fantastic having the two of you come on here. And, I wanted to get a feel of your collaboration musically, because I've seen all the posts and whatnot. And I was like, okay, I need to see what this collaboration is all about. And I guess you two get along better than Mick and Keith do, so...
Well, I don't know about that. You have to check up on every day is different.
Yeah.
Well, I can say that Kimberly is one of my closest friends, and I have the utmost of respect and admiration for who she is and the artistry that she does. So it's always a pleasure to be working with her in any capacity. So there you go.
Thank you, Vito.
Yes.
Yeah, the respect is mutual, for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
What?
So, well, thank you for having us on today, Greg. It's so fun to be with you.
Yeah, well, it was nice to stay in touch, and like I said, I don't always comment, but I always see what comes across on Facebook, and that's generally one of the best ways to get hold of me. But I wanted to get a feel of what your collaboration was all about, and I think I got that. So yeah, that was.
Yeah, good.
Yep.
I'll send you a copy of the new album if you like, and have a listen.
Oh, I would love that. Yes, I'd play it on here.
Oh, great.
Awesome.
Just send me over your address, and I'll pop it in the mail tomorrow.
I can do that. I'll tell you what. When I go on Facebook tonight, I'll give you my mailing address.
Great. Good.
Or instead of popping it in the mailbox, you can hop in the RV and going across country.
Yes, we'll be right over.
Oh my Lord, that would take me forever in this weather.
Yeah, but just think of all the trees you can brush off the road, and
Oh my goodness.
I'm never gonna let that go.
I know. Well, it'll go down in history.
Yeah, the next time I want to catch a thief, I'm gonna think about this.
Kimberly in the RV. Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, before you two go, I would love to get a plug done on my show, and I don't know how you two will do it in a collaboration, but you guys can give it a best shot.
Yeah. Okay. Vito?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I don't know. We're just going to have to do this tandem. I'll start, and then I'll stop, and you start. Okay?
Okay.
You want to try it now, Greg?
Sure.
Hi, this is Kimberly Haynes, and
David Vito Gregoli. And you're listening to...
Oh, my gosh. Okay, that's not working.
I jumped in because I heard a gap, but I'll let you. We should just go back and forth like you said. So start again.
Okay. Hi, this is Kimberly Haynes.
And David Vito Gregoli.
And we're here with Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise on CHSR 97.9 FM.
In New Brunswick.